Alright, I'm just gonna wait for people to show up for a little bit and then see what happens. Wish people would actually show up, but I'll wait. I started early, so yeah, this will end up probably on the cut when I turn it into little snippets. I'm gonna start in 5 minutes. More minutes. And still waiting. Wish I could move a little bit back. I can. Okay, move up. I'll get things started in just a minute. eventually I'll chop this up into a little short. Up, 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 up. "60 seconds to launch." Okay, none of you. Let's get our 6th anniversary plus 2 days party started, shall we? And let's start with the first question that none of you asked. Where did the idea for "did I get what I paid for" come from? In about 2006 or 2007, I wrote a column for the comic book fanzine Collector Times. It was called "Did I Get What I Paid For?" and I would review comic book trade paperbacks and other things and answer that very simple question. But I would get most of these trades at comic book conventions and thrift stores, so I was not paying anywhere near full price. So whether or not I got what I paid for could vary. Sometimes I would have a really well-renowned book that I paid a lot of money to get, and it wouldn't be good enough to justify the amount I spent on it. Other times I would find really, really cheap trades that were almost utter garbage, but because I paid $1 for them, I would give them a passing grade. That was sort of the gimmick. Which really brings us to the next question: how did it end up on YouTube? Again, this goes all the way back to about 2003. That was a summer where I was supposed to have 2 blocks of summer classes in college, but for various reasons they got canceled. And then I would go out and get a job, and then something would go wrong and the job would no longer exist. One of them was because I basically took over for a guy who was on vacation, but then that guy had a contract and I didn't, so when he came back from his vacation, they had to let me go even though everyone there thought I was doing a better job. And so my friend Matt and I started playing Daytona a lot, and that made us realize just how awful the Sky High song was. So we did this gag music video, and we shot it with this little dinky handheld camcorder, and after a while we had that. We'd been sitting on that video for a long time, and eventually we decided, we should put this up on YouTube. So we created a channel. And a few months later, we did a few more, and we sort of forgot about them. And then, I think it was maybe I don't know, I think 2017 or 18 that we did a bunch of videos parodying the old 90s computer game, Dr. Spade Zone. So from there, we did a whole bunch of those sketches. And then after that, like, what are we going to do with the channel now? And that sort of led to me thinking that I could take the comic book review column that I had that was really working rather well and had worked rather well when I was at Collector Times and turn it into a video show. But instead of reviewing comic book graphic novels, which many other people were doing at the time, I decided to do movies. And to separate me from the other movie reviewers out there, I sort of did the whole, was this worth what I paid to see it gimmick again. And that's really how the show started. But how did I meet each member of the cast? Well, that's another hard one. I'll start with Matt, even though he's not the one I met first. I remember I was at the bus stop at my community college, and I saw this guy who had a Super Mario t-shirt on, and he looked like he was kind of having a bad day. So I started talking to him, tried to cheer him up, and by a month or two later, we were basically best friends. At least that's how I remember it. Nick I met through a mutual friend, and we really started becoming friends because he said that he needed someone to help him train for a martial arts tournament. And he jokingly said that he needed his own Kato from, not the Green Hornet Kato, the Pink Panther Kato. So every day I would try to sneak up behind him and steal his bagel so that he would not eat too many carbs. Oh, we got a comment. I gotta switch over to... Oh, it's just Matt. Yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah, how I met Nick. Well, I met Nick through a mutual friend, and like I said, he wanted someone to help him train for his martial arts tournament and help him make sure that he didn't eat too many unhealthy things. So every day I would come by and steal his bagel, and from there he started hanging out with the RPG club. And again, as it happens, when we sort of lost contact for a while, then we both wound up at the same college and we hung out again. And then we graduated and lost contact again, and then found each other on Facebook. And as the show started, we were working on Jack and the Beanstalk, and I had written this sort of jock announcer character. And I didn't think that Matt or I quite had the vocal quality for that role. I think I could have done it, but it wouldn't have been as good. So I asked Nick if he'd be willing to come in and voice this character for us, because I thought he could pull it off. And he said, yeah. So then, Jack and the Beanstalk had a lot of production problems. So I ended up writing a few fill-in episodes just to give Matt extra time to edit. And because I thought the sketches worked better if I had a sidekick, and I didn't want to rely on Ralph because that was just me acting against myself, I decided to introduce the computer. Again, originally, for about 5 minutes, I considered voicing that character myself too, but with the idea that I was such an egotist that, of course, I would base my supercomputer off myself. But again, I decided, that would be kind of funny. That'd be at once funny. But But if I needed to stretch this across a couple episodes, it would be better if it was somebody else. So I asked Nick again. And he just nailed it. Again, the computer was supposed to be a 3-episode character and turned into a regular because Nick was just that funny. Now, Marche was an interesting one because she'll probably deny it, but we first actually met on OkCupid. But it was a case where after a date and a half, we realized we didn't click that way. But she again joined the gaming group and we stayed in touch. And again, when I needed a voice for Jack and the Beanstalk for Akate Harmonica, she was the first choice. Wait, was that the first video she did? No, she was in the Priceline sketch because she came in and voiced Uhura when another friend of mine had to back out for production problem reasons on her end. Then we cast her as Akate Harmonica. We always meant to bring that character back, but once we created Zylo, it sort of became redundant. And then, last but not least, no, wait, there's 2 more people. There was Ray. I read Ray at community college as well. Back in those days, we didn't quite get along. We got along most of the time. It wasn't until we ran into each other again somewhere else we just started talking, and I think we'd both grown up a little bit in that time. And then Ray again was supposed to be like a 1 or 2 episode character, but his me Marvel Valiant was just so perfect and so like Weasley middle management type, only an alien bug, that I kept him around for the last half of that season because it just worked so perfectly. And the last member of the cast was Gizmo, and that one's a sad story because between the time that I shot the first episode of Did I Get What I Paid For, the Bela Lugosi meets a broken gorilla episode, and the editing, our previous dog Mindy passed away. And then almost a year to the day, my parents went down to Southern Virginia and got another dog. That was Gizmo. And Gizmo made his first appearance on the show in the Fleischer Brothers episode. He must have been about 9 or 10 weeks old then. But he didn't become a talking dog character until the Christmas Carol saga, where he was basically our Tiny Tim, the idea being that if he didn't get himself potty trained, then he would, not be in the future. Again, it brings up another good question. Which member of the cast is hardest to work with? Marche is usually the one who is the latest when it comes to recording her stuff. I mean, we're still waiting on her for 3 episodes I have written. But really the hardest is Gizmo, because he starts barking in the middle of takes and often slows down production several hours. And then, when we need him to do stuff on camera, he demands French fries. In a way, he's the only member of the cast who gets paid. Oh, okay, next question. What episodes are your favorites? Okay, I'm not supposed to have favorite episodes, but I do. I know most of the guys and Marche stand by Bible Man as our best. I sort of disagree, but I think that might be emotional trauma speaking. I mean, Matt watched it with me the first time, but I had to watch Bible Man 3 times while I was finalizing the script, and it was painful. I think our commentary on it was great, but the show itself, I think our best episodes are either Manos, Jack and the Beanstalk, or Scooby-Doo, the second time. What movies are currently on the Do Not Review list? Let's see. Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. I know I'll probably get to it eventually. The Room. Simply because every critic on the internet has already done it, and there's no more joke to be made about it. The same goes for Birdemic. But, oh yeah, The Sound of Music. Technically not on the I will never review this list. It's on the I will not review this unless somebody pays me $500. I hate that movie so much. Next question. What are some shows and movies you've always wanted to review? Star Trek II, The Search for Spock. That's not only one I've always wanted to review. Matt and I have had these ideas on how to do it, and things just keep getting in the way. It's one we're definitely going to get around to eventually. Other than that, I think Matt is dead set on us eventually doing Super Mario. I don't particularly want to, but you know, I throw the cast a bone every once in a while. But me, I eventually want to do Superman 4. That would be fun. Maybe not for me, but for everybody else, because everyone else seems to love the movies and shows that make me hurt. What episodes am I currently working on? Let's see. I've got a script for Godzilla, and that one mostly edited. I have a Captain America episode, which is shot and mostly edited. I have an episode based on the adventures of Mark Twain, which I think I'm going to keep the version I have, but I might have to reshoot. And I'm 1/3 of the way through writing a review of Homicide: Life on the Street, which I hope to write the second third of this weekend. And once I got 2 or 3 of the episodes done, I will send them off to Matt for proofing. And then we'll find a quiet little spot to record them. Probably over the course of a week, because the scripts are about 11 pages each. And I also have a rough outline of something else I can't even talk about yet. Actually, 2 things I can't talk about yet. What are some things next one. What are some things that I've reviewed that I didn't want to, and why did I do them? Let's see. Ones that come to mind in that regard. Bible Man. I was against it because, well, it's seems to be like every atheist YouTuber's starter kit movie, and I didn't think I had a unique hook into it. Then Matt reminded me that he's a Methodist, and well, we have an agnostic and a lap whatever, and we had the opportunity to show people that Bible Man was hated by atheists and Christians alike. And I thought that was a unique enough hook to justify it, but it was painful. Another one I didn't want to review necessarily, but Matt talked me into doing it, was Francis the Talking Mule. That's a series I kind of want to go back to now because it was actually a rather fun episode to do. Simply because it was mostly Ralph and Senator Eduardo. And those characters are always fun to do. I mean, Ralph is basically my, basically with me, only more restrained and more rational. He's like the embodiment of my rational mind, rather than the Jeff character who is basically, I'd say, about 45% id. Okay, another tough one. Another tough question. What movie's verdict did you find the most surprising? I would have to say Gulliver's Travels. I thought that's a public domain movie, so it was probably forgotten for a reason. I was wrong. It was actually really good. I mean, it's the second American full-length animated feature, really only public domain because the studio went bankrupt in the process of making it, or as a result of making it and it sort of bombing, because it's a few years later that they sort of fell apart. Okay, number 12. If you could remake any bad show or movie you've reviewed, which would it be and how would you make it better? Okay, there's a stupid and sarcastic answer here and a serious answer. The stupid sarcastic answer is I would remake Star Trek the Motion Picture. I would make it a few years later. I would throw out the script entirely, and I would hire Nicholas Meyer to do it. And it would involve Khan, and I would have gotten Ricardo Montalban to do it. So basically, just not make Star Trek the Motion Picture and go right into Wrath of Khan. That's the sarcastic answer. The more serious answer is I would remake Benji Zax and the Alien Prince. Only I would, get actual actors, and I would play up the campiness. Because Benji Zax and the Alien Prince is almost entirely unintentional camp. And yeah, that's part of the charm, but it's also why it doesn't quite hold up. Number 13. What's a movie you'd never tackle in a review, but you think deserves a critical reassessment? I know some people are gonna laugh at this, but Ride of the Monster. I mean, Ed Wood, well, the man couldn't write, he couldn't act, he couldn't direct his way out of a paper bag. But there's one thing you cannot say about his movies. That they're not entertaining, because they are, no matter how bad they might be. And people have already remade Plan 9. And Ed Wood technically remade Pride of the Monster, but he remade it as a porn flick, and that remake is thought to be, if not entirely lost, at least mostly lost. But how would I make a remake of Bride of Monster good? I would replace Bela Lugosi, who was a great actor, mind you. But I would get somebody a little bit more hyperactive, like, I don't know, Seth Green or Charlie Day. And then I would get John Cena to play the Tor Johnson part. Okay, next question. What's a movie you've never tackled in a review that... Oh, I got the questions out of order. That one was if you could remake any movie you've reviewed, which would be in my... Okay, now the next question is, what's a movie you never tackled in a review but think deserves critical reassessment? Also Bride of the Monster, because Bride of the Monster is actually kind of fun. I mean, all Ed Wood movies are kind of fun, but Bride of the Monster and Plan 9 in particular. But another one I would say would be Drop Dead Fred. Critics of the time hated it, and I think it was actually really damn funny. Number 16. Of the 3 biggest YouTubers you've worked with, which one would you most want to work with again? That is an unfair question because given the chance, I would work with any of the 3 I've worked with. Any of the 3 big ones I've worked with before again. I would, if Film Geek needed a research hand on something, or wanted to come in and play Santa again, I would not say no. If I had another toy whose origin I needed investigating, I would definitely talk to Scott Toy Guru Nightlook again. And, well, Tor Parsons, yeah, I'm already scheduled to do, at least 2 more, if not 4 more collaborations with them somewhere down the road. I can't say much yet, but they're going to happen, or at least some of them are definitely going to happen. One of them is mostly shot. Okay, question 16. Will there be another Enterprise saga like there were the other previous seasons? Yes, but the next episode? No. Somewhere down the line I'll get the Enterprise, but it'll be a long road getting from there to here. It'll be a long time. Sorry, couldn't pass that joke up. What was the monkey image for my stream, or all the monkey movies in general? Okay, that is an inside joke. If you ever take me to the zoo, if you take me to the zoo, you have to go to the monkey house with the small mammals last. Otherwise, I'm just going to go in there, and you're not going to see me again for the rest of the day. I'll just hang out there all day. But there's also the fact that my very first review was Bela Lugosi Meets a Brooklyn Gorilla. And then in season 0, I reviewed, there was 1 thing in the first episode, and then 3 in episode 2, and then 1 in each of the Dick Tracy episodes, 2 in the Nancy Drew episode, 1 in the second Laurel and Hardy episode, I think it was something like 15 things in the first 7 episodes, and somehow, some way, about half of them had monkeys in them. And so it sort of became a running gag of the channel that we were stuck in the orbit around monkeys. And I tried to pull away from it a little bit in season 1, but it still happened. And then in season 2, it happened again. And I didn't intend for it to happen in season 3, but it did. And then this year we did 4. Well, we've done 3, and we're going to do 1 more set of callback episodes to previous episodes. And at that point, I just leaned into it and did a monkey movie. Back to public domain monkey movies, even. Just to keep the gag alive. Question 18. Which episode is Tor Parsons going to be in? Yeah, it's time for those questions that I know the newbies might want to hear. Tor is going to be in The Adventures of Mark Twain. I sort of joked about that in my script for his channel. He originally was going to cut that line because he didn't want to give too much away, but then we decided, it'd be funny if like his nightmare scenario ended up being what actually happened. So we kept that in. And how did I discover Tor's Captain of Curiosities? I think that was similar to everyone else. My YouTube viewing is the types of channels I watch are vary from everything from weird history to true crime to movie reviews, and all that weirdness sort of grew and snowballed together, then broke the algorithm until it started fitting me some of the weirdest channels imaginable, and eventually ended up on Tor's Captain of Curiosities. Number 19, number 20, how did I end up writing for Tor? Well, that is another good one, another good question. He had an episode, I think, like 2 months into his channel getting reinstated, where he had a fan submitted script. And he said, well, if you have any other ideas for me, don't be afraid to write me and pitch them. So I dug through all these weird books of history that I had that he hadn't covered yet, and I pitched him on a few ideas. And then he wanted proof that that I could, write a decent script. So I showed him my channel, and I showed him when he wanted to know which videos that I thought would be the best examples of what I was capable of. I gave him a few suggestions. When he particularly liked the 2 Christmas episodes from last year, which I think of the 2 of them, the Flintstones was the weaker one of the 2, but again, I'm sort of stuck in a Flintstones loop as well, along with monkeys. But I thought the Superman Christmas episode was pretty funny. And so I think Tor thought that one was good too, and so that was why he accepted my pitches. Well, one of my pitches, and I hadn't even finished like the second draft when he was already saying, "Oh, this is great. This is great. I'd like to have you back, but this episode is so different from what he normally does that he wanted to see the audience's reaction to it." And then within 6 hours of release, we were already going through several of the other pitches I had, and he said, "Well, all these ideas are good, but do you have anything else?" And I'm not gonna say what we settled on my next episode being, but it's gonna be another interesting one. Not quite as dark. Actually, in some ways, it's darker than the other one I even did, but the way I'm going to frame it is going to be different because I'm not going to focus as much on the dark stuff. I'm going to focus on some of the aspects of the story that have either not been told or not been told well. and are unusual and almost surreal. Okay, didn't get any questions. Didn't get any questions from anyone, so I guess I'm gonna wrap up for the night. I'm gonna cut. I might cut this up into little bits later, but I'll talk to you guys later. Just out.